The great white shark is known as one of the most dangerous sharks in the world and one of the largest sharks. In the game depth, this shark stays true to its vicious reputation. I am Barnabas Blue, and today we're going to go into detail on how to counter the great white shark in the game depth. Before we get into the specific hard counters of the great white, let's understand the shark first. In the game, it's one of the biggest and slowest sharks and relies on shift sprinting as its primary movement instead of lunging. It is also one of the tankiest sharks with a health pool of 350 hit points, and a class ability that lasts 3 seconds once activated, letting it ignore a percentage of incoming damage on top of ignoring slows and nets when its ability is at max rank. One of the weaknesses of the shark is that it has a small stamina pool, meaning it has a limited amount of lunges. As a diver, it will be helpful to understand that sharks have two different lunges, a short lunge that uses a little bit of stamina and a long lunge that uses more stamina. Good great white players will use the shorter lunge to conserve stamina so they can have enough left to grab another diver. Knowing this as a diver means you should wait until the shark is closer to you to attempt to dodge it. Most great white players will wait till a diver dodges or until it is very close to the diver to even lunge for him. It will be also helpful to know that the great white is a very loud shark, so make sure to listen on where it's coming from. Since it is a loud shark, one option would be to fight this shark in open water. However, doing this as an alone diver is risky, and if the great white is paired with a fast shark, this is not going to work well for you. Early game against the great white is going to be tough as a diver because the great whites typically rush the divers early on, trying to kill as many as possible before the divers can get better weapons. This leads me to the 5 tips I have that will help against a great white early game. The first is to consider taking tranquilizing ammo on your weapon. Each bullet that hits the shark with tranquilizing ammo will reduce the shark's stamina by 10. The idea is to be able to deplete the great white's stamina bar completely and it helpless and unable to lunge. Will likely still be able to grab one diver, but this should keep it from being able to kill a whole diver team off. Later in the game, however, tranquilizing ammo will not be as effective because the great white will buy abilities to counter this. The second early game tip is to grab gold and fast and do it smart. Having more gold is going to let the divers get better weapons and even the playing field, or even put the playing field in the diver's favor. Without gold, the divers will not stand a chance against a great white, as certain weapons just won't be enough damage to take it down fast enough. To get more gold as a diver, you'll have to learn the gold spawns. A good way of doing this is taking a sensor item which will highlight the gold for the diver. Will help you to learn the gold spawns so you may not need the item later. The third tip is if you happen to be playing against 2 great whites or a great white and a slower shark. In this case, you might find it worth buying a DPP early game since the sharks will be slower and have a harder time catching the DPP diver. This will let the divers get better weapons faster in the game due to the amount of gold the DPP diver will be picking up. One thing to keep in mind with this, however, is that DPVing usually results in the divers losing some more lives early on, as there will be one less diver to shoot back at the sharks, and the DPV diver is a pretty helpless diver. The fourth early game tip is if you're really struggling as a diver team. You'll want to take a shark shield if you guys are losing a lot of life tickets. Make sure to put the shark shield in an area that makes it harder for the sharks to get to, such as underneath Steve, in a corner, or in between 2 objects. However, a shark shield is not going to be as helpful if the great white happens to be paired with a faster shark such as the mako. This is because the mako is able to destroy the shark shield much easier than the great white due to its small size and speed, and will be more likely to escape the room unharmed after doing so. The last tip for early game is taking the spear pistols with drag and toxin. The reason you want the spear pistol is purely because they can take drag. The great white only starts to ignore slow effects such as drag once its ability hits level 3, and even then the ability only lasts 3 seconds. Drag is going to make the shark much slower, meaning it will be more likely to miss lunges and will make it an easier target. Drag is going to be even more useful if the great white is paired with a bull or hammerhead shark. These sharks have no ignores to drag and are also larger, tankier sharks just like the great white. In fact, drag is actually even more useful against the hammerhead and bull than it is against the great white. Against a great white, tranquilizing versus drag early on is a pretty even one to me, and it more just depends on whether I started with the spear pistol or a gun that can take tranquilizing ammo. Now that you're through the beginning, at this point you'll be mid to late game and should have some gold to spend. In my opinion, there are 4 upper tier weapons against great whites. Starting with the cheapest base weapon, the APS Rifle. This is going to be a good choice if you need a gun as soon as possible because your team is losing too many life tickets. While the base APS isn't going to shred a great white, it will be better than using these starting weapons and can be upgraded to use heavy barrel which will definitely shred apart a great white. However, the base gun plus heavy barrel costs a whole $4,300. If you happen to have $4,300 to spare when you go to buy your first gun, there's going to be, in my opinion, two better weapons that you could purchase instead. The first is the LJ-10 Volley Jet. This gun fires a bunch of spears in a circular pattern and can fire twice before reloading. So it's going to have a high initial burst damage and will do more damage with the closer due to more spears hitting the shark. Great against the great whites, since it's such a large shark, meaning more spears are likely to hit it. The Volley Jet can also take drag as well as an ammo modifier. As a warning, taking this gun will infuriate a lot of players and may get you called a noob. The second option, if you had a lot of money to spend, is the APS Rifle, which is going to have a higher DPS than the APS Rifle, but its base cost is $3,300 to buy, and then it will be $1,500 for its ammo modifier. There's not much that needs to be said about this weapon. It's just a great gun in general, and it will work well against any shark in the game due to its high fire rate and accuracy, and 1 meg of it can take down a great white no problem. Lastly, we have the Harpoon with penetrating for more damage. This is the most expensive option and is if your team has a crazy amount of gold. This is going to let you do the absolute most damage with one shot as a diver. But with penetrating, it's going to cost a whopping $6,000, and the diver money could probably be spent better on other things such as buoys, hat turrets, or shark shields with a different weapon I mentioned previously. If you are new, keep in mind that depth has a rather steep learning curve for most people, so don't be too worried or upset if you keep losing matches. And just focus on having fun and learning your mistakes to become a better diver over time. If you guys enjoyed the video, a like is always appreciated, and don't forget to subscribe for more upcoming videos. If you want to contact me, link in the description is my Twitch and Twitter. Thank you all so much for watching, and stay cool.